Welcome back to another episode of DC Comics News. I am Editor-in-Chief Josh Rayner, and I'm here to bring you some fantastic interviews that we just conducted with the cast and crew of Batman Death in the Family. That's right, the new interactive film, animated film from DC, which is coming out, I believe, on October 13th. So make sure you pick up your Blu-rays then. So we had the pleasure of interviewing the writer and director Brandon Vietti, fantastic guy, as well as some of the cast. We had Zehra Fazal, who is the voice of Talia al Ghul. Then we had Vincent Martella, who voices Jason Todd himself, and none other than John DiMaggio, the voice of the Joker. That's right. So I'm excited to get into these. And I hope that you guys are too. First up, we are going to hear our very own Brad Filicky, who is one of our great news writers and podcasters over here at DCN. He will be interviewing Brandon Vietti. So enjoy.
So what was some of the unique challenges in directing for the interactive format?
Oh, there were so many. Honestly, it was an interesting experience putting together a branched story. It was my first time doing it. But another unique aspect of this, I think, that's different than any other branched story out there, is the fact that we incorporate some elements from another great movie that we did 10 years ago called Batman Under the Red Hood. This project, Batman Death in the Family, is sort of an extension of that. It's not meant to be a sequel, but it does kind of stand by it. And in that, it takes our audiences back to that fateful moment where Robin was at the hands of the Joker. And it gives our audience the opportunity to vote whether he lives or dies. And so, I think starting there, going back to comics history, going back to that fateful choice, and starting to come up with new pathways, new alternate things that could have happened if fans voted differently back then, was certainly an interesting challenge from a story construction standpoint and from an animation standpoint. To be able to utilize sequences from Under the Red Hood, but present them in entirely different ways because new story choices got you to those familiar moments, was quite a puzzle. I'll put it that way. It took quite a bit of time, quite a bit of thinking, quite a bit of planning out, quite a bit of putting cards on walls and running strings between the cards to see what connects to what, how to construct it in the editing room, how to animate new material and fit it in between. The whole process was both challenging and rewarding. And I'm hoping, our audiences will just love diving into this network of decisions within this group and seeing how those choices play out.
Mm-hmm. And besides Under the Red Hood and Death in the Family, were you influenced by any other Batman stories in writing and directing this film?
Many, and it's all there. Honestly, I really tried to incorporate a lot of story material from some of my favorite books. I will say there are some highlights, alternate presentations of famous Batman history moments that are within the movie. Just served up in a different way because there's different choices throughout. So some are very out there for you to find, some are very hidden. But I really did look at this from the point of view as a fan myself, as a Batman fan myself, knowing all of the things that I know and love about Batman, the Batman universe, Batman's history. I tried to bring kind of all my favorite things into this story, but serve them up in new and different ways so that people can discover them along the way with the choices they make.
Mm-hmm. And you have said that you really leaned into the horror aspects of the story. And was that something that you set out to do before you started writing it, or was that something that kind of happened as you got into the process?
I think it's something I knew I was going to delve into right away. None of this could happen without Judd Winnick's great story for Under the Red Hood. And the decision to bring Jason back, a fallen hero, and somebody with a pretty kind of warped point of view on Batman's form of justice, right? I mean, all of those themes of justice that are unique to Batman and how he trains his Robins are twisted around in Jason. And that's such a core part of the Batman universe, that psychology, criminal psychology that is explored often through Batman's villains. Now it's all fallen onto the shoulders of Jason Todd. Like one of the Robins who's come back a much darker version, a criminal, a murderer. And Batman is faced with that. A member of his own family is now on the wrong side. And that dark story, I think, lended itself to horror. And so I leaned into that. I leaned into Jason, going to the dark side psychologically. And that journey, I think, is horrific. I think it was there in Under the Red Hood. I think it was there in what Judd Winnick wrote. And I just kind of leaned into it a little bit more because I think it's not foreign to the Batman universe. I think, again, the dark psychology that Batman confronts every day through his specific villains, it all lends itself to horror. And so I think, the appropriate choice for this specific character and for this specific story.
And speaking of villains, Two-Face wasn't in the original storyline or in the Red Hood film. So what was it about that character that made you want to use him in this? And were there any characters that you wanted to use but just couldn't find a way to make them fit?
Mm-hmm. Well, Two-Face specifically, it's a villain about choices. And so I thought there was some poetry to bringing Two-Face into this. It's also a character I've never gotten to work with. I've worked on a lot of different Batman properties at Warner Brothers Animation over the years. And that was one villain that I just hadn't really had the chance to get into and work with. And so I was really excited to work with Two-Face. But also, Two-Face has an important role in Jason Todd's history. I mean, it was kind of alluded to in the books that Two-Face was behind the loss of Jason Todd's biological father. And that was something I wanted to work with. The loss of father-son relationships is at the core of this story, as it was with Under the Red Hood. And so I felt it was perfect to bring Two-Face into this story.
Well, thank you, Brandon, so much.
All right, that was a great interview. Thank you, Brandon, for taking the time to talk with us and kind of give some of your insight into this amazing project that is coming out very, very soon. So next up is Zehra Fazal. Like I said, she voices Talia al Ghul, and she is being interviewed by, once again, Brad Filicky, and who is joined by Kendra Hale. So enjoy.
Hi.
Tell me your name again.
My name is Kendra, and my colleague's name is Brad.
Nice to meet you guys. I'm Zara.
Nice to meet you. A pleasure. I guess I'll go first since we just have the 10 minutes. What was your approach to Talia al Ghul when you took on the character?
So there's two parts to that. Psychologically, being the daughter of Ra's al Ghul, I think Talia al Ghul is very interesting in that she's a cool customer, she's in charge, she's in control, she's trying to strike out from underneath her father's legacy to create her own thing. And I think she and Bruce Wayne have a lot in common in that regard. They're both kind of obsessed with building their respective families, building their respective legacies, and honoring the past. So psychologically, that was kind of what I focused on with Talia. And then in terms of figuring out her sound, Jason Isaac played Ra's al Ghul in the Under the Red Hood movie that this is the same universe of. So in talking with Brandon Vietti and Wes Gleason, our voice director, we wanted to kind of give her a similar accent to that of her father, so someone who's kind of come up being educated in the British school system. So yeah, that was kind of my approach.
Very cool. Brad?
What was your favorite thing about playing Talia? Is it fun to play the villain?
Oh, absolutely. I love playing villains because villains don't think of themselves as villains. You're always the hero in your own story. And so I never approach a villain character thinking about, I'm evil. I never think that. I think I'm right and I'm entitled to what is mine and to what I believe in. And so I love, the other aspect I really love about Talia is, playing a character that's so sure of their actions, and so sure that they are in the right. When you then have scenes with characters who are diametrically opposed to what you are doing in your actions, it creates a really interesting conflict because both sides believe they're in the right. So I absolutely love whenever I get an opportunity to play a villain, for that reason.
Very cool. So, approaching the story, the death in the family, was it daunting at all taking on such a huge moment in time for the DC universe?
Yeah, I was so excited when I was offered the role, and I was so excited when I knew it was an adaptation of Death in the Family by Brandon Vietti. I've long admired Brandon's work, working with him on Young Justice. Whenever you get a Brandon Vietti script, it's going to be good. So I was so excited about what he would have to say and bring to Death in the Family, and especially in this new interactive format, which places the viewer directly in the middle of the story. Like, I think, I wasn't really thinking too much about, gosh, this is this huge, iconic storyline from the comics that we have to live up to. I was more thinking about it like, wow, this is a fresh adaptation of this material for a new audience, and it's going to honor the original material in a really interesting, updated way. So it was just exciting all around.
What was the influence of your history in theater into your performance and what you brought to the character of Talia?
Ooh, I love this question. I would say that my theater background, I bring it into I feel like actors who work in acting for animation or video games, anything with voiceover, a theater background is the best training, because what's so helpful in theater, especially if you're doing like a solo show where you don't have another scene partner with you, you learn how to perform and act and speak to someone who isn't there. And that is so much the case in animation when you're recording on your own. You don't necessarily have a scene partner reading with you. That ability to create the other part of the scene is so crucial. And so, yes, I would say that I absolutely bring my theater background not only to this particular role, but to every role I take on. Theater is the best training. Having a live audience response to the things you're giving out is the best training for an actor. And I do think that, while all the performances in this movie are very grounded and realistic, there is an element of theatricality, because how could there not be? It's Batman. And so I think that kind of heightened stakes and the ability to kind of ratchet up the truly the life or death circumstances. What could be more theatrical than that?
Absolutely love that answer. I think I just have one more for myself. If you could share with us, what was one of your favorite moments from doing the role?
Oh, I remember when we recorded. So they played an animatic at the recording session, so I could just kind of see the pacing of the scene. And my friend had done all the scratch tracks for it. She had helped out with storyboards for that episode, and she had done the scratch tracks. So it was really fun hearing her voice in scratch as like temporary voiceover. So that was so fun. It was like a welcoming. It welcomed me to the session to hear my friends doing the scratch vocal. But I remember our voice director, Wes Gleason, was just very supportive of the choices I was making. Like we made some adjustments on where she would live vocally, and then he just let me play. He just kind of let me go, and I really, with each take we did, kind of sunk more into the emotionality. And because this is a branching story, you really get to examine a character in drastically different circumstances, right? Like the Talia that exists in one scenario is different than the Talia that exists in the other based on the choice of the story thus far. So to really explore the different sides of the character and to really kind of sink and luxuriate into the different emotional states, that was something that was really special about the recording process.
And is there any dream character in the DC Pantheon that you would love to play if you could choose to play any DC character?
Oh gosh, I would love to try my hand at Wonder Woman in some iteration. I love that character. I would also love, I'm a huge Sandman fan, and so I would love, Death was my absolute favorite growing up. I would love to take a crack at Death.
Yes.
Or anybody in the Sandman universe, really. I love that universe.
Thank you so much, Zehra, for doing this. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you very much for spending time with us.
Kendra, Brad, thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
All right, she's gonna be. I think she's gonna be a fantastic person in this film. I'm real excited to hear how she portrays the character of Talia. So next up is the man, the myth, the legend, Jason Todd. That's right, being voiced by Vincent Martella. And we had both Brad and Kendra back for this interview to talk to the man himself, the one who either lives or dies in this interactive form. So check that interview out right now.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going, Kendra?
It's going well, thank you. So, doing the current voice for Jason Todd in the Death in the Family movie, did you bring anything from Under the Red Hood's Jason?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was kind of the first order of business when I started working on the project was, finding the similarities of the voice that I used in Under the Red Hood and bringing that over. And then once we got into that mood and kind of got that vibe down, it was all about adding in all the extra layers of emotion that this story brings to my character. So, it was kind of like a multi-part process, but it definitely involved trying to get back to the place that I was at when doing Under the Red Hood.
That's really cool. So, I mean, obviously you had to take an older stance. Well, I mean, maybe. Did you take an older stance with this Jason coming back to it?
Did I take a what? I'm sorry?
An older mindset?
Oh, yes. Yeah, definitely. I mean, this kind of, it progresses the story of Jason Todd a lot more. So, all the things from, not just what happens in Under the Red Hood, but also what's going on with every decision that the audience makes, that just keeps adding to this character. So, Brandon Vietti, the writer and the director, as well as Wes Gleason, who was voice directing in the booth, we all kind of worked really hard to make sure that the way I'm playing the character is slightly different and has different nuances depending on the decisions that you make.
I mean, and obviously an arduous process. I mean, did you ever find yourself getting tired during recording?
No, I was having a lot of fun doing it, and I mean, you don't usually, I find, in different animated projects that I work on, and just acting in general, you don't really notice how much energy you expended until afterwards, and you go, oh yeah, I guess I was, the last couple hours I've really been acting extremely upset and damaged, and I've been playing this character whose life is in tragedy right now, and so that takes something out of you. But I find I don't really notice until after I've left, and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I've been using a lot of emotion all day.
Brad, I've actually had the opportunity to answer a few or ask a few if you want to go.
Okay, sure. Now, before Under the Red Hood, were you familiar with the character of Jason Todd?
Not before I had worked on Under the Red Hood about 10 years ago. No, I wasn't. But because of that experience now, I obviously very much so am. But no, before Under the Red Hood, I was not.
And did you happen to read the source material?
Yeah, but not in a very long time. I read it before Under the Red Hood.
Because I guess my one question too would be, has your approach to the character changed since Under the Red Hood? How you approach the character, how the character has grown. How did you change your approach with the family?
Yeah, well, it was different with playing Jason Todd this time, and yeah, my approach certainly changed, specifically because of exploring the interactive element of this film, giving these large choices to the audience. When these big things, these big events happen to Jason Todd, we then explore them and what they mean to him, and how it how these things impact his view on family and his view on growth and his view on justice and his view on violence. And because we go so many different directions with the character in this film, it allowed me to learn a lot more about him and how I wanted to play him. So it was very cool having so many different destinations for this character.
Is there a different process that you take when you amp yourself up for Jason versus other characters that you voiced, like Phineas?
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly a different experience when I'm playing someone like Phineas as playing Jason Todd. I mean, when you perform these characters in the DC universe, especially when working on a Batman film, there is a very specific mood and an energy you have to bring to these characters. It has to fit the tone of the source material. And so, yeah, it's definitely more of a darker, emotional, angry vibe with Jason Todd, because he's a very angry and damaged young person. And so there has to be a lot of anger and, longing behind a lot of these things that he says and does. Whereas Phineas, is obviously very energetic and is a young child who is just extremely creative and optimistic, and has only been upset, 2 or 3 times in the history of the show. So there's definitely different places that I have to go for these different characters.
Thank you. Brad?
And do you find it harder to play the darker characters in the darker stories than in the more lighthearted? Or is it just kind of all in the same, it's all in the same job kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have necessarily, a preference or find one harder or easier. I think what it ends up being is they end up being enjoyable for different reasons. There are parts of exploring a new character that's extremely dark. You go, this was difficult to achieve, and that's obviously why you have the help of your director and your writers. And you go, that was easier than just playing happy. But then there's plenty of stuff that I've done on Phineas and Ferb, or other projects I've worked on where it's like, but it's not just happiness here. It's you're getting an idea and you're excited about, or you're doing comedy, and so trying to find the humor in moments can be difficult at times too, because you're trying to make your audience laugh. So there's difficulties in both comedy and drama that I think are very specific to each. And I don't think one's harder than the other for me. I think they're both just fun in different ways to reach those those highs and lows in those performances.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And Kendra?
Is there a character that you have as your like ultimate goal, like one that's on your bucket list that you haven't gotten a chance to play around with?
Oh, I think that there are plenty for sure. I would love to do a Western of some kind. Just because I can't imagine being on a set like that. I think that would be incredible. And so few of them get made. So I think it'd be really cool to, work on something like that and get to have some fun wardrobe and great facial hair.
Thank you. Brad?
Did the interactive component of the film present any challenges to you as an actor?
Yeah, well, I mean, even upon walking into the studio for the first time to record, Brandon, our director, laid out the map of the storyline, and here's where the decisions come into play, and here's where it branches off the character into different directions. And, whenever you're playing a character over the course of either an episode or something, or the course of a film, you want your character to change, and you want to show growth, or, you want to explore them and what makes them tick. What was nice about this is, you can see decision in like the little points in, this map and on the script of this is going to be something that's going to change him. This moment right here that we give the audience, we let them do something. Here's how it's going to change the character. And so that was just an interesting experience because you don't usually have that. You don't usually know the exact moment. That's usually something as an actor, and you work with your director on finding what those moments are for your character. But this was literally, here it is. These are the moments that we want to impact the character.
Okay, thank you. And Kendra?
And I know we're running a little bit short on time, so I'll make this my last one. Is there a moment that stays with you when you, having played Jason Todd? Is there one that is a favorite moment?
Yeah, I do have a favorite moment in this film, where I catch up with an old friend, and I can't say any more about it. But there is definitely a moment in this film that is my favorite moment so far. I think that's all I can say. but yeah, there is a moment in it in this film.
All right, thank you. We'll have to keep sharp eyes. Brad?
Yeah.
Do you prefer live action acting or voice over work?
I don't think I have a preference. I've had such good experiences working on both. Like, obviously I know that, that doesn't answer your question, but that's the truth because I've had such really, really cool jobs working live action and working animation. So I don't think I'll ever really have a preference. I think what's so interesting and different about working in animation is obviously you really don't get to see the art with the character's voice for such a long time, whereas at least when you're on the set and you're working with other actors, you have the benefit of at least seeing with your own eyes everything that's happening. And it's always so exciting, as it was with this movie, when I finally got to see all the artwork and I got to see the picture when I was doing ADR. That made it so much more exciting. I was like, oh my gosh, this looks so beautiful, and some of the art is just incredible in this, and it's really violent and at times very graphic, and it has horror elements, like a horror film in it. And so getting to actually finally see those after months and months is always such a great day.
I just want to thank you very much for taking the time to do this interview, and I can't wait to see the film. I'm really excited to see the finished product. So congratulations on.
Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, thank you. I was really happy with how it turned out. I appreciate you guys talking to me about it.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right, it's great to hear what he had to say about this character and about this whole film and his thoughts on everything. And so, last but definitely not least, is one of my favorite voice actors, Mr. John DiMaggio, who voices the Joker in this film. He also voiced the Joker in Under the Red Hood, which this is tied to. And man, this guy, he has done so many voices. Not a lot within the world of DC, like so many. If you go on to like his IMDb, he has so many DC credits for various characters. But outside of DC, he's done hundreds of characters, and one of them is one of my favorites, Bending Rodriguez from Futurama. That's right, the one and only John DiMaggio. And this he is being interviewed by Sharna Jahangir from Dark Knight News, which is our sister site. She came over to do this interview. She was very excited. So take it away, Sharna.
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you doing, John DiMaggio?
Very good, thank you.
Thanks for doing this interview with us at DC Comics News. It's such a pleasure.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I have about, how's it going so far, by the way? Have you been well?
Yeah. Well, yeah, everything has been all right. I've been very fortunate enough to not have caught COVID this whole time. Neither has my wife, so that's good stuff. We're keeping our masks on and social distancing and doing all the right stuff. So, yeah, it's been okay, and I hope you have been well too.
Oh, I've been very well. Oh, thanks for showing such a good example. I'm really happy you've been well.
Thank you.
So I guess I'll start with the questions, and yeah, definitely looking forward to conventions again, so we could do this face to face. But for the Death in the Family, you were behind the voice of the Joker in the highly appraised Batman film Under the Red Hood. What was it like for you diving back into this material for Death in the Family?
I was really, really, really excited. I was saying before how, or just earlier, how I've been fortunate enough to get to revisit a lot of the characters that I played after periods of time of not doing them. Bender from Futurama, Jake the Dog on Adventure Time, Marcus Phoenix with the Gears of War franchise, just, the various stuff here and there that has come back around. And this project, with, Batman under the Red Hood being involved in the, in this storyline and the many storylines that they created to make this Blu-ray DVD so special, it's just been a lot of fun, and I was saying as well, the template that I set the first time was easy to get back into, because it was just something that I don't know, I just is a tuning fork. You just tap the tuning fork and you're like, oh, I hear the note. There you go. And it's right in. And you get right back to work. It's just really something. And Brandon Vietti has created something that's really, really incredible. And yeah, it's exciting. It's an exciting way to tell a story, right? Tell stories, really,
Oh, yes, for sure. With this interactive way of telling stories, we were wondering, were there any challenges for you for the story being interactive and having multiple paths?
Not really. No. Listen, as an actor, when they lay it out for you, when they show you the scripts, and you just like, okay, this is what happens here, this is what happens here. Instead of that happening, this happens in this storyline, and instead of this happening in this storyline, this happens in this storyline. So it's just, it's all pretty much laid out, and you act accordingly, as far as the storyline is concerned. But I think for the most part, the toughest job is for the writer to fully and eloquently tell these stories, to the hilt, and take them to their ultimate ends, no matter which one the viewer chooses.
Oh, fantastic! Thank you. How is it like? This is your second time playing the Joker. How is it like getting into the mindset of a character like that?
It's really it's a lot of fun, because he's so chaotic evil and just so out there, and does what he wants to do when he wants to do it. So it's just it's really a lot of fun to play within that within the universe that is the Joker and Batman. But you know, it's really a treat to get to come back in and play it. You know, it's all laid out for you. It's all laid out for you with the scripts and with how they're doing it. So to get back into it, that was easy. It was right there in front, and it's a thrill. It's an absolute thrill and a joy.
Oh, it's an absolute thrill having you play the Joker every time. What changes will you do? You have such an iconic voice, you know, as you mentioned, Bender. I've even played Vampire the Masquerade, and I've heard you there too. It's such an iconic voice. Like, what will you do to your voice to make it more Joker-esque?
You know, I can't really put my finger on it. It's kind of one of those things where you just kind of do it. It just happens. And I mean, I think there's a quote that Sir Laurence Olivier was on stage doing Macbeth, and he was particularly brilliant this one performance. And someone said to him after the show, like, "Oh, that was just so brilliant." And he was just like, "What was brilliant? I don't remember." Like, there's this thing, you kind of go into a performance mode where you're completely free and you're completely open and you just perform that thing. And it happens once and it's live, and you can do it a couple of times, but the magic, you know, the magic occurs when the magic occurs. And so it's just, you just tap into it. I can't really explain it. It's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of like explaining a joke to someone. You kind of lose the joke when you explain it. You lose the performance if I try to break it down and explain it to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I bet someone as freeing as playing someone like the Joker, it must be like an interesting, like, mental experience for sure. So probably hard to pinpoint and put down.
Yeah, I mean, and to explain how you get there, it's just, you really have to let go, and you know, you really have to let go and really, you know, you have to go to a dark place too. So it's not something that you're like excited about it. You know, you're gonna be in a world of very of darkness of the Joker. You know, he's a psychotic maniac. You have to, you lose yourself in it to get there. So it's just, that's pretty much it.
Oh, amazing. Absolutely. That chaotic evil. I can feel it. I can feel the way you'll play it. Amazing. And, I guess, I wanted to ask like one last question, but what would, well, actually it's a two-part question, but what would you want Jason's fate to be? Can I ask you that? Jason Todd's fate?
I don't know. I don't know. No. I don't know if you can ask me that. But you know what? The beauty of it, this thing. This is the beauty of this kind of storytelling, because whoever the viewer is, whatever they want to choose, they can. So there's so many different ways to end it, you know, and I think that's really appealing to people. I mean, you know, and listen, back in the 80s when they did the call-in thing to find out what happened to Jason Todd, and if they killed off Jason Todd, crying out loud. I don't think they're going to do that this time around. Who knows? Who knows what, you know, and I'm not allowed to disclose to anyone who's going to buy this DVD of any of the storylines, but I'm telling you, it's such a great way to tell a story, and it's so fascinating. And the people that are fans of the franchise and of the DC comics and of Batman and the Joker are going to love this. they're going to absolutely lose their minds because it's awesome. I mean, first of all, Under the Red Hood was great, but then you put on top of it, what they're doing. It's just pretty ripping. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome.
Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that excitement. I'm so excited for this film and this interactive.
No, people really should be excited. It's really wonderful. Brandon has done an incredible job of putting this together. Bruce Greenwood is brilliant as Batman. Vincent Martella is unbelievable. This is a solid voice cast, incredible animation, and you get to pick how you want it to end. I mean, what's better than that,
No, nothing. Especially I regretted. I really was sad hearing Jason Todd's ending. So the fact that there's other ways or other stories, I am so excited. Yeah. I'm sure fans are over the moon.
Yeah, totally.
Thank you. I guess. Last question. Now, yes, we were talking about all these different sorts of endings, but do you think that there's an importance in Jason Todd's tragedy to Batman's story? Do you think that's a pinnacle moment, like for Batman, for his destiny in a way?
Wow, that's a tough call. That's a tough call. Like, I mean, emotionally for the character, but like, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about that angle, but it's a great question because it really has to do with the soul of Batman.
Thank you.
And the soul of Jason Todd and how they're connected. But yeah, I guess it is. I mean, they're really both so important to each other. Yeah. That's a great question. Oh. That's a great question.
Thank you. That means so much.
It almost answers itself because it's just like, yeah, of course it does. I mean, Jason Todd, they're so emotionally connected.
They are.
So, yeah.
Oh.
I mean, I don't know, but then again, that's up to the viewer. If they want to delve into that, I think that they can. So, with the options that they have. So, that's it.
That's it. Oh.
I think you still have like 30 seconds. You want another question?
You mentioned about working with the cast. How is it working with that phenomenal lineup?
Listen, we get to work with some great people in this business, and when you work with a talented cast, it makes it that much easier to get the job done and to do your own job of performing these roles. It's always wonderful when you get somebody like Bruce Greenwood playing Batman, and listen, I love all the Batmans. Kevin Conroy's Batman is unbelievable. Diedrich Bader, one of my favorite people on the planet. His Batman is something else. Yeah, that's right. Batman, Brave as the Falls, Aquaman's my friend.
Oh, thank you so much for that. Thank you. You made my heart jump. Thank you.
All right, Sharna, we gotta run.
No problem.
But thank you so much.
Thank you both. Thank you so much for this. I hope you stay safe.
All right, sure. You too. Take care. We'll chat with you later.
Right. Take care. Bye.
All right. Bye.
All right, that was a great interview. Thank you again. Thank you to Brandon Vietti, Zehra Fazal, Vincent Martella, John DiMaggio. Thank all of you for coming on and doing these interviews and for making this film. So it's the first time they've ever done something like this interactive thing. We've seen some interactive stuff on Netflix recently with the Black Mirror Bandersnatch episode, with the Kimmy Schmidt episode, and even if you watch the Boss Baby animated series, they just recently put out an interactive one for that as well. So it's nice to see DC diving into this. But if you really want the full experience, you have to pick up the Blu-ray. The digital version will only have linear stories. That are 4 linear stories that will be put together already for you. You will not be able to make choices on the digital portion of it. So be sure, October 13th, be sure to pick up this Blu-ray so that you can experience making these interactive choices for yourself and deciding whether or not Jason Todd lives or dies. His fate is in your hands. So again, thank you to everybody who's been listening, who supports us here at DC Comics News. Be sure to check us out on social media at DC Comics News, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, YouTube. You got it. We have it there. If you need some news, reviews, interviews, we got it all. So be sure to check that out, dccomicsnews.com. And as we always like to close out our programming here at DCN, we always have one simple request for our fans, and that is to read more comics. So with that out of the way, I just want to say thank you once again, and catch you next time.